Philly's favorite 100.7 FM and 99.5 HD3. Good morning, everybody. It's Chris, and we're getting started with Real Talk with the real estate diva, Desiree McDuffie. We have a good show. Great show in store today. We'll be talking about Airbnbs and rental spaces. And there's a lot that goes into Airbnb, so be sure to have your notebooks and pens out. There's a lot to go over, so stay tuned. Let's go.
Everyone, this is Desiree Real Estate Diva McDuffie here with another episode of Real Talk with the Real Estate Diva, and we have an amazing show for you guys. I mean, I went into like my archives of my life and was able to pull out someone who has been extremely instrumental in helping me to build my real estate business. And we have a treat here because we have him on the show, and he's going to share some awesome information about real estate investing, Airbnbs, and then we also have Miss Paulette Ahmad, the permit plug. She's here, and she will give us more information about, Philadelphia's new regulations regarding Airbnbs and short-term rentals. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. And of course, we have Mr. Chris here,
yes.
Our
morning,
engineer.
Everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Can't forget about him. He keeps me together. So yes, guys. So Jeremy, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. So Jeremy is owner of KW Philly and Mainline. So, he's doing some big stuff. When I first met Jeremy, he was the office manager at Coldwell Banker Preferred. So I'll let him give some information about himself and his background, but I have a story to share about Mr. Jeremy Bowers. So you ready, Mr. Jeremy?
Yeah. So I grew up in a town called Punxsutawney, Groundhog's Day. You probably don't have too many guests here from Punxsutawney, but I am from there. It's a real town. I went to Penn State, met my wife, got into sales. I was horrible at it, then figured I loved real estate sales, got into that in 2003. I've been doing it now almost 20 years, and started renovating houses off buying a book at Home Depot for about $25. Got my real estate sales in 2003. Built a quick business real quick. Sold about 150 to 200 houses a year, helping families buy and sell. Then got into leadership, did that for 6 years. Started a real estate investing company. And along the journey, I've started other companies, but I've always been involved in anything real estate, coaching, selling houses, building businesses, anything like that. I love helping people, and real estate's just part of that journey.
Yeah, I mean, it's evident that you love helping people, Jeremy. And I can honestly say there's several people that have encouraged me throughout the years in my real estate business. And I can honestly say that you're one of the top people that if it were not for you, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. So I want to thank you for, investing in, my real estate career, just with all of the knowledge and encouragement, when you were manager at Coldwell Banker Preferred. Like, I really appreciate it. And I would not be doing this if this were not for you, to be honest with you. I would not have this radio show, Jeremy. I'm serious. Yeah. And Paulette can attest to this, right? Remember, Jeremy, I wouldn't talk. Like, I was so nervous to talk, especially doing videos and I wouldn't do any of that stuff then. But you encouraged me and pushed me to step out of my comfort zone. Yep. And I'm doing it now.
On the radio.
I'm on the radio. Yes.
And that's normal. Most times humans don't believe in themselves as others believe in them. And our job as leaders is to get other people to believe in themselves more, build that confidence level up so they can impact more people. And I can say today I'm very proud to see what you've done, where you're going, and the impact that you're making on people. So keep up the great work.
Thank you so much. I often look back, and I really do often look back at a video that we did. It was my first live, and it was at one of the Coldwell Banker events at the Fillmore, I think it was. And we had a speaker there, and I don't remember the speaker's name, but I remember you said, Desiree, you're going to go live now. And I did it, and that was maybe 7 years or so ago or more?
Yeah,
so,
I remember doing it with you, and I was either Bob Heilig or Frank from Viral Marketing. I want to say it was Bob Heilig. I could be wrong.
That sounds familiar.
And I didn't give you a shot. We just went, let's go live, and I just helped you moderate, helped guide you through it. and you got through it. And you're like, it's not as bad as I thought. So a lot of times in life, just have another person there. People do the same with me. That's awesome.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being that person to really help push me, not just to do that live, but like I said, I learned so much from you. As my manager at that time. So I just wanted to, I believe in giving people their flowers while they are here. So I just want to say thank you so much for all that you did to, help me in my career.
That's great.
I got real sentimental.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's priceless.
I got real sentimental for a second.
We love it. We love it.
I'm sorry. All right, guys. So out of my little, let's get into investing. Pros and cons about Airbnbs versus long-term rentals, right? So Jeremy, you mentioned that you've done flips before, you do the long-term and the short-term. So what exactly is your preference right now?
So I tell, so it depends on the person, where they're at in their life. So it's a lifestyle decision, maybe not as much as a money decision for some people. So for me, I'm not doing Airbnbs right now. I've bought and sold over 150 houses. I have a decent amount of rentals right now. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's another job because now I have these people coming in and out of the property and I have to manage it. I had a property management company doing it. They only specialize in Airbnbs because most property management companies can't do both. This person, that's all they do. But what I found was I had revenue months as high as $7,000 and other months at $1,000, and call it my cost for around $3,500. So for me, I went to a long-term business model and just put long-term tenants in there. The flip side is if you just want to go rental long-term, it's just consistent income. You don't get as much as cash flow. Right now, the hot points are in the Shore and Poconos, where a lot of people are buying, and they're doing Airbnbs in those marketplaces. I was in Philadelphia doing Airbnbs. And I look at real estate. There's 4 benefits to real estate investing, and you need to figure out in your life if it fits that.
Take notes, guys. Take notes. I was telling our listeners to take notes. He dropped some gems. So
I love it. Yeah, so the first one's going to be appreciation. Everybody knows that one, which the house is going to go up in value, and most people want to base that on 3% a year. Mm-hmm. Number 2 is depreciation. A lot of people get confused on that, need their accountant on that. You can normally write off around 3%. You need the accountant to figure that out. Let's just base it around $700 a month, somewhere in that range, plus your appreciation going up. Number 3 is cash flow. And that's what a lot of people base it on, making $300,000, $500,000, $200,000, $2,000, whatever it is per month. And then the last one is forced pay down of debt. Don't hear that many people talking about this, which that's where your tenant is paying down your debt. And if you look at an amortization calculator, which most of us don't, it's pretty cool to see principal and interest. Mm-hmm. And most of your tenants are paying about $700 a month down of your debt. So when I look at a $500 a month cash flow property, on average, I get about $3,000 additional benefit through appreciation, depreciation, and forced pay down of debt. Where did I learn a lot of that? Real estate tax advantages and real estate tax loopholes and tax-free wealth are 3 really, really good books written by Robert Kiyosaki's company. He didn't write those particular ones. He wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? Very, very popular book. Mm-hmm. It talks about those 4 principles. The other one's Wealth Code and Tax Code. Those are my favorite books. If anybody's listening and wants to read books and learn about that, they dive into the details of that short little, blurb that I just had you about real estate investing. So really depends, Desiree. Do they want the hassle to take the risk to get more cash flow, to deal with more problems? Mm-hmm. Or do they want to go the other route of just taking a long and steady approach? Depends where they're at in their life.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. You and I talked about this many years ago. You probably don't remember this, but, my model has always been I want the long-term money, not necessarily the short, quick. So I have personally never flipped a property, but I do own rental. So, so for me, buying now and maybe cashing out when I'm maybe about 60 years old or so makes sense while I'm able to, collect income throughout those years make sense for me. I have never flipped. I've thought about flipping a property, but you know, and I've thought about also jumping into the Airbnb game. And, you know, I've heard similar stories to yours, you know, about, you know, the income fluctuating quite often. So with that being said, we have, you know, Paulette here, and she has her own experiences with, you know, Airbnbs, short-term rentals, long-term rentals and such. So, and then with the city changing their rules, you know, we also want to make sure that we give listeners that information, and, you know, you guys can talk about that, right?
Absolutely. Hey, Paulette, how are you?
Hello, listeners. This is Paulette Ahmad, Philly Permit Expediters, a.k.a. your permit plug. So thank you guys for having me here for the second time to be here with Miss Real Estate Diva McDuffie herself. It is always a pleasure. And Mr. Jeremy Bowers, oh my gosh, I have stories. Jeremy, my child, remember I had to put my daughter in daycare. And that daughter now will be 8 years old in a week, Jeremy. She was 6 months when I started with you guys. So she will be 8 years old. And I remember I had the baby and everything like that. And Jeremy's like, listen, you gotta make a choice. If you're serious, you know. So I made that choice, and I never looked back. I literally never looked back. And Jeremy was always the one that can tell you the hard truth. Like, he's going to give it to you. So
whether you want it or not,
you know, but
I spoke up on that one.
Yes, you know, and then, you know, you can take it how you want to take it. He'll let you voice your opinion and how you feel. But okay, so we still need to get to the work, and still
absolutely
Caldwell Banker going through the program with the you know, learning the contract and things like that. And I wasn't the best at the contracts, Jeremy, I know. Okay. I was good at sales, though. I wasn't the greatest at the contracts, but learning through Caldwell Banker and going through that boot camp is just unmatched anywhere, period. So Jeremy now owning a Keller Williams, I can only imagine what they're going to learn, some real, actual, real real estate work that they could actually use and learn those contracts, you know. Because that's where the money, that's where the learning, that's where everything is. You know, the contract, that's like one of the first keys to your wealth, your success, and your business. Since then, going through the years, of course, you know, realtor since 2008, and now
the permit plug.
The permit plug, you know. Now the permit plug, I kind of found myself through real estate. Working, I specialize with buyers and investors. And Jeremy, I know all well about phases of construction and dealing with the hard money draw schedules and all those kind of things that we do. I actually wound up being a construction project manager on those. In lies, I had to deal with permits. And it was so difficult because investors aren't loyal. We all know that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So it was exciting, because I wanted to be everything for the client. So I want to rent the property, sell the properties, do all these things, right? But real estate is what got me in the door. Real estate made me work hard because I wanted to be that one-stop shop for my clients. So it made me really hustle hard so I can make this income, make a name for myself. But then it actually took me to something that wound up being my purpose. What I thought what I was doing was my purpose. And when I started working, and I mean, I went down to the city. I cried a couple times, and you know, but in some weird way, I kind of liked it, and I was good at it. I was so good at it. I quit everything else. Cold turkey, stopped everything at one time. I give up everything, and it was the weirdest thing, and it was real. And I take risk anyway, because that's just my personality. But once I actually got started, I knew I wanted to give good service. It wasn't about making the money. It was about providing the difference and providing the service to the common people, the common investor, the common contractor, the common owner. Because it was, as expediter, it was more privy to people, you know, Jeremy, that have more money. I mean, they have bigger deals and things. You know, I worked for Philadelphia zoning. At some point, I took a job so I could actually be better. I was new, so I took a job at Philadelphia zoning for a while. You know who Alexa is, I'm sure, Jeremy. And then I also worked with Kelsey at Kelsey and Co. for a little bit. So I did some work, you know, before I just jumped out and decided to fully do this. And during all those processes, I learned every single aspect of permits and new construction and what have you, but my foundation has always been real estate because it goes back to that. It goes back to real estate no matter how you look at it. It goes back to real estate. My love for real estate and now my passion for expediting. And then the Airbnb thing came up because they were doing things without, we didn't have to worry about it. The same thing like the wholesalers. Now all of a sudden they want to do a wholesaler license, It's the same thing with the Airbnbs. Now they've been doing this for so many years. There weren't any proper regulations and things like that. But once things get abused and people start complaining and people staying late and people messing up property and taking up parking and all those kind of things, of course, the city now found a way to regulate that, analyze where we are right now. So not only did they regulate where we at right now, but in different cities and states, they have their own laws, okay? But here within the city of Philadelphia, things have changed drastically. I don't know how they did it, but some kind of way the city is one thing, but they actually talk with the different Airbnbs like Vrbos and the Airbnb the different Airbnb platforms and came to some type of agreement where they know when that they're saying, look, if you want our city, I guess, to go ahead and continue to patronize you guys, this is now what we require. So whatever that conversation was, of course, I wouldn't be privy to it. But now we are here. Okay.
So what are some of those regulations that are in place now that were not in place before?
Well, before there was nothing. There was not one single thing. No different again. When I related to a wholesaler could just go up with a contract that he found online, write his stuff in, say he's giving a deposit. Deposit never shows up at the title company. The owner don't know what you know what I mean? So it's kind of the same thing. It was just like out here running ragged. And it's kind of the same thing with Airbnb. You were able to clean. I mean, oh my gosh, you weren't even paying taxes on it. You were paying your regular taxes for your house, but no
Not
other
on the
type
income.
of, no regulations, no anything. It was kind of like the Airbnb of housing. Which is kind of, not the Airbnb, the Turo.
The Turo,
of like housing,
Right.
but it's Airbnb because you have to take a picture of the ID. You get paid through an app. You can deal with them through an app, But it's not an easy business to run. It's a business that, I have some clients who close and shut theirs down and selling their furniture because once the laws have changed, it changed everything with the game. I mean, clients were making anywhere between I would say $4,000 to $7,000 to $10,000 a month, but it was enough money for them to get another one, enough money for them to get another one, enough money for them to get another one. But Airbnb started as when I was a realtor, I used to have clients call me from out of town and ask me this question. And I didn't know. I said, is it legal to do that? Now, of course, it's everywhere. You know how some things started slowly?
Yes.
And you're not familiar, then all of a sudden it's here. Well, with Airbnb today in the city of Philadelphia, things have changed. You can no longer just rent your property out. You have to, if you have a multifamily, the law is different. If you have a single family, the law is different. But the number one thing that you have to remember is that Airbnb is a zoning change to your property. And people don't know that. The new law right now is a zoning change. If you have
explain that. What does that mean? Go ahead.
So if you have a single family dwelling and just a regular single family, if you want to rent that property out Airbnb, number one, the property has to be lived in by you, the primary resident. Because that's the whole point about Airbnb. Airbnb is essentially almost like a bed and breakfast. The people come and they stay in your home for a certain period of time while you're still in another room, and then they leave, and then you have another set that come back.
So wait, so I cannot purchase a property as an investment property any longer and make it an Airbnb?
You not without owner occupying it, unless you do what they call visitor accommodation. Now, okay, so let me start here. There are two different types of Airbnbs, okay? You have your limited lodging, okay? Which a limited lodging means that you have to live in either the unit, if it's a multifamily, or you have to live in the home.
Okay.
Right? And so you have to occupy the space within the same 6 months a year, the same way you would rent out the space. However, if you are visitor accommodation, you may be a host, and you may host it for an owner. Visitor accommodation is essentially, that's when you have to pay more money, but then you have to go through a zoning approval, which takes anywhere between 2 to 3 months to get approved. And from my understanding, a lot of them are not getting approved. But before you even go there, you have to make sure that your building is not redlined. Kind of like we had redlined back in the day, So you want to make sure that your property is visitor accommodation that you can even have an Airbnb, because I believe it's 115. It's certain parts of the Northeast where you cannot have Airbnb. It even shows you on the map.
Really?
It's completely restricted. Whether you go to court or not, it is restricted. You cannot have Airbnb. Whatever they did, they was able to get that part blocked
So that's
off.
something the council person, whoever, somehow maybe.
However, they was able to put that in place. It is on a map. So what I always tell people is before.
Where can you find that map? I'm sorry.
That map, I would say go to philly.gov, right? Mm-hmm. And then go under the search and just put in Airbnb. And then it comes up with a whole kind of it's like a map that shows you how each chain relates to each other. Mm-hmm. And then it actually has the map and everything right there for you to actually look at. It tells you about visitor accommodation. And, with the city, you click on one thing and it takes you to something else. And you click on one thing, so a lot of times you have to know what you're looking for, or you could go ahead and just put it into Google and say, do you want to know, you could say Airbnb restricted areas, let's just say, and you put that in Philadelphia in Google. And then the map should come up that way as well to let you know certain areas. But your property has to already qualify if you're doing visitor accommodation. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, I have clients who live in condos and I Airbnb them. I've had clients who's renting several units inside of apartment buildings, and I will limited lodge each and every one of them. However, they're each individual rentees. So the one same person can't rent multiple units. So each property, when we do Airbnb, we have to research that property before we can determine what can be done. And if we think it needs to be, if it has to go in front of zoning, we'll let you know what this property doesn't qualify for your regular limited lodging one. You will have to go to do the visitor accommodation one, which will have to go into review. But you don't necessarily have to hire an attorney like they say you do. You don't have to hire an attorney for that. You can very well go through that project yourself. I mean, I probably wouldn't want to, so it would probably be good to hire an attorney that's experienced with Airbnb. Yeah. But if you're an apartment, say you own an apartment building, an owner that owns an apartment building can actually make his building visitor accommodation. And he can literally himself have a host and rent out each individual unit, as Airbnb. So it's a real fine line with people and how they understand how to do this process, because everybody's in a frantic.
I'm sure.
Everybody's in a frantic right now, and Airbnb is very specific. So if you're a limited lodge and you're in a duplex or a triplex, then you have to do whatever, since you're only supposed to live in one unit, you have to own or occupy it, right? You have to specify what unit you're living in. So if it's a 3-story, you have to, and you live on a second floor or the first floor, you have to say, I live in a building, I want an Airbnb, the first floor unit that I live in. And they want to see that written on your driver's license. So it's instances where I've had to send my clients to PennDOT just to get their driver's license, to get the address changed, just to put the unit that they live in. Just so that the Airbnb, right. And then it's a 2-phase process. So you have, number one, we make sure that the property can be Airbnb. And then the second thing is we go through the zoning. The zoning change on a multifamily will essentially be one unit would be Airbnb, the other unit would be regular rental. And like I was telling you, Des, and under a duplex, you have the best of the best of both worlds. You can be a regular rental standard tenant on one floor and have it as a rental, and your other unit can be on the first floor as a Airbnb, so you can get the feel of it, right? So after you do that zoning, then you go over to licensing. So it's a 2-part phase. Now you have to pay for the limited lodging license, and you still have to get a rental license as well, because you have that other unit in lines where the lead-based paint still applies and all that stuff like that right there with the city of Philadelphia. That applies. So you'll wind up with 2 licenses, but in a sense, you'll be able to rent out either however you want. If you ever decide to sell the property, they will definitely have to get a zoning change back to a regular rental if they choose not to do Airbnb. But I always say with realtors to do certain zoning checks anyway. Put that in your contract. Put that in your... put it in there. Like, do something. Do not call me the day before, like they do, or a week before, or something, and tell me how it's being lived in. Because all I care about what I can prove.
Yes,
I can only go what I can prove. So if you could pre-do that as an owner and then have that paperwork already ready, then you could justify the price that you're selling it for. So the zoning really, really, really does matter. So, but you can make money on the Airbnbs. You can. But the cleaning fees, you got the cleaning, that's a lot, especially once you have so many of them. You have cleaning that you got to deal with, the constant turnover that you have to deal with. The same way you would, like I said, when you're doing Turo, you have the constant cleaning of the vehicle and getting it ready for the next guest.
Yeah, so that's what Jeremy was saying. It just didn't make sense financially any longer. And this was before, Jeremy, correct? Before all of these new zoning rules came into play, correct, Jeremy?
Yeah, correct. The game's changed. Certain markets are doing very well and certain markets are not. I'm coaching a client down in Florida right now, the Miami market, which normally has a very high appreciation and takes a crash when the market turns. There's certain markets in America, Austin, Texas, Nashville, I believe are going to be in those top 10 lists. You're going to see large number decrease. Yep. But guess what's happening now? Like in Miami, the one guy I'm coaching, he just told me he lost over $250,000 in Airbnbs that he was doing. He was crushing it in, but because the reason why is he wasn't getting as much as he wanted, and he had to buy all the furniture. So they had $250,000 in furniture to get rid of. So it just depends. Like you got to be strategic about this and realize that these rent dollars are not normal. I've told people this last couple of years is whatever you made during the coronavirus time in real estate sales, don't base that as the norm. And people are feeling the effects now. Same thing on Airbnb numbers or rental numbers. Don't base that number. If they show you a rental rate and they brought in $100,000 revenue, I would not assume any type of appreciation. If the market turns, I'd be looking at a 20% decrease. Whatever number that is that you think will adjust, maybe it's a 15%, but don't base the number on the peak of the market.
Absolutely. I
100% agree. I was just telling Des, I don't just know Philly market. Honestly, I know other markets as well, like other cities and states like Miami, Detroit, Mississippi, Florida, LA, and also Houston. And I was telling Des that certain parts of Texas, there's no zoning laws. So because of that, you could run ragged in those particular areas, and people are starting to migrate to those areas more than and closing up shop here, and selling off their furniture and closing down their Airbnbs, because when all this licensing and permits and zoning things came into play, apartment buildings that used to be okay with it are now not okay with it, because you run a fine line when you're renting out an Airbnb, and Jeremy, I'm sure you know this, and if you change that zoning on that unit, if that person don't know what they're doing, you could change the zoning on the building.
Oh, wow.
So it's very careful. You got to be very, very, very careful. You got to be very specific, because once that's done, that is done. I mean, it is completely done. Like I've sat here and told the guy, I need to see, but it's through trial and error. But you could change the zoning on the entire building on a client that allowed you to. So now they ask you for a letter from the landlord, notarized, that they're giving you permission to do XYZ with that space. And which is why they came up with the first unit, second unit. But you can't just put it on there. You have to actually look at it when you get to the city to make sure that they have that on there. And then when you get the license, you got to make sure that the license match the zoning that's on there. But it's definitely easier to do it. If I was to personally do Airbnb myself, I would come out of Philly. I darn sure wouldn't do it in Philly. I just wouldn't do it. It's not as lucrative. You want to go to tourist spots or somewhere, where it's people are looking for Airbnbs. You want to go to different vacation spots, but I would definitely start in Texas.
Yeah, I remember the first time I stayed in an Airbnb, it was actually in Miami. This was, I don't know, maybe about 10 years ago, possibly. And at that time, it was mostly people renting their private homes, or a room in their home. And that's what I stayed at, someone's home, pretty much. And they left and they allowed us to stay in the home. And then after the rental was over, my period in the house was over, they came back home. I don't know where they went, but, during that time. But, and that's what, it was a weird concept to me then, but it sounds like it's actually going back to that. People aren't able to just purchase 10 or 20 Airbnbs now to just
Well, they can do it. It's ways around everything. I mean, if I'm gonna buy it in my name, I'm gonna buy so many in Jeremy's name. I'm gonna get so many in Dad's name. Yeah. So there's still a way around it if you choose to go that route. But it's like I want to be open and free with what I do. You know, so why would I have to put that much brain power into it? I stayed at an Airbnb in Atlanta for 5 days, and the owner was actually there. She would go to work, she would come back. It was a 2-bedroom, but they were both master suites. Had my own bathroom and what have you, but she would come back, not disturb me. I wouldn't disturb her. Now I thought that was weird. That was weird. I never even ate it. Like, I thought that was weird, and that was just about maybe a couple years ago. So, but you would think it started off, I think, initially as getting extra income in order to offset your income as a homeowner. You know, so you can help pay your bills and that kind of thing, you know. And then, of course, like anything else, is like, oh, you know, let me try this again. And then you were giving the landlord a premium just so you could basically, it's called subletting. Airbnb is subletting. You know, it's subletting, which is the reason why when you have a residential lease, the city of Philadelphia already knows the number. I think it's number 26 on the agreement. It's on the lease, on the standard lease on it for realtors, and you can't cross that out. You leave that there, you initial that, and then you have to still write an addendum separate that needs to be notarized that attaches to that lease, saying that they give you permission for that particular unit to be rented out. So, because you can't really kind of scratch off of buying the contract, you know what I mean? But you can change it according to that addendum. So when people, I mean, it could be costly, but it's not expensive, but it's a lot to maintain. I have clients now who are telling me to change their units back to regular rentals because they just don't have the time to manage them.
Yeah, sounds like what Jeremy said. It's a lot. They just don't. It's a cleaning. I didn't think cleaning was that much. Cleaning is a lot. It's a big deal with the cleaning. You know,
so you're trying to do yourself. You just took another job on, which most people don't want another job. You can hire a company who'll probably charge you around 15%. That's what I did, and there's Airbnb management and dealing with everything like that. My recommendation to people is when you buy something, buy it. If you're going to buy it for the Airbnb, also know what the rental long-term rate is. So I had a house and I was Airbnb, and when I decided to switch, I still could cash flow. Very little, but I could cash flow and keep it as a long-term rental. What scares me is when someone buys a property based upon solely on Airbnb number, that number adjusts, and now they're in a debt hold every single month keeping a long-term rental, and the market switches, and they can't sell it because the price of the property went down by X percent. That's probably my number one tip when I tell people if you're going to buy short-term rentals. You got to make sure the long-term rental number works also.
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely. So one of the things that both of you guys mentioned, and we can discuss it briefly, is the Philadelphia market right now when it comes to investing and rentals. And there are a lot of people now who are coming out of this market. They just say it's just entirely too expensive as an investment as a whole. Right. So what are your thoughts about that, Jeremy? I've had several clients call me and say, I want to sell everything. I'm done and I'm not buying anything else. So what are your thoughts about that?
So it depends why a person's selling right now in the marketplace. So some people could be selling because as humans, we kind of freak out and we normally do things on highs and lows. So the first question I'd be asking them is like, why do you want to sell it? Is it worth it long term? And understanding the tax complications of selling it.
Absolutely.
If they do want to sell it and move into something else, what is that next investment vehicle that they can make? And I think still a lot of people might want to just move that money to a different area. Me personally, I've moved most of my rentals to where I live, and that's probably one of the best decisions I've made. One of my other business partners in the Kellers, Williams offices locally, which there's many of us as partners in these, he buys within a walking distance of his house. Me, I buy within about 10 to 15 minutes of my house is my goal. That way, if there is an issue or I need to meet the contractor or I'm renovating the project, it's really not out of my way. Now, for me, I'll go farther than that as long as it's on a commute to the real estate office. So I would tell people is maybe reconsider your approach if you are selling to move that money and 1031 that to another investment property, which is another conversation too.
Oh, yes, for sure. The 1031 exchange.
Yeah, about that. Yeah, well, I agree. I mean, I'm the permit lady, so I think about it a little bit. I think all of the suggestions and all of the advice that Jeremy gave is 100% dead on target. But I also, me being where I'm at, and on a zoning side of things, it's tough with permits out here. You know, a lot of people are doing things, buildings are collapsing, and people are just doing what they want and don't even know the code. Mm-hmm. You know, they're just doing what they want to do. And a lot of them are selling buildings because they're getting upside down with those the high payments that they're paying per month for holding the cost of the properties. You know, they're buying buildings that weren't conducive. So just like Jeremy said, know what you want to do first. Mm-hmm. You know, make sure that the building that you're purchasing is going to make sense for what you want to do. If you want to buy multifamily, find out what that is. You know. Find out if, like the permits, find out to make sure the zoning, find out all of these things to be proactive. And once you see that, is that worth it for you? Mm-hmm. You know, if it's not worth it, then maybe you need to do something else. But a lot of them are doing it because a lot of them have single families that they want to get rid of. It's not really the multis they want to get rid of. It's a lot of the single families because they want to double their income. So a lot of them are dumping the single families so they can buy multifamily, which is actually 3 units and above. Because once you hit 3 units, you're in a commercial space. But they want to buy multi-family units, like I said, to double their income because since the pandemic, I mean, people made a lot of money, but then as the crash, the high came down, people are losing their houses, their cars, and things like that. So now they have to downsize from living in these houses to renting apartments. You know, so like in the down market, the millionaires are made. You know, so in the up market, you know, things get made too, but not in the down market. The down market is where it's at. You got people to pray for the down market.
Oh,
you know?
yeah, for sure.
So while you're in this down market, you should, if anything, learn the craft or really kind of hone on where you want to be as an investor. But research that property the same way a wholesaler will research a property. Research that property to see if it's going to make sense. Get yourself a contractor. Get cost estimates done on what the rehab cost is going to be. Like, get some real numbers, and if it makes sense, you know.
Go ahead, Tara.
Yeah, you're right. The contractor is a key. The realtor is a key, right? The key part of the strategy. Knowing where you're going to get the money is a key. Yep. And I would recommend on this is seller financing is becoming more popular. I just bought a place, seller financing 4%. Rates are at 7.5 at small banks. I was doing loans, buying properties at 3.5. But that's changed. So just that mortgage difference rate saved me about $2,200 a month.
Nice.
Rates are coming down now, right? They're coming down a little bit now. I bought my properties in 6 and 7s, but we got to consider that in your term when you do the deal. And I find that most people are going to refinance within 5 to 7 years under rates anyways.
Absolutely.
But that's definitely changing right now. Financing is as big a hurdle as the marketplace right now, permitting or anything. I've never had so many people in my history of being around real estate talking about financing terms, right?
Mm-hmm. So
it'll be interesting to see where it goes,
You've been in the business for a long time, Jeremy. So to discuss financing terms, the interest rates that we recently had over the last 2 years were, amazing, unprecedented, right?
Yeah.
Unrealistic, completely unrealistic. I remember back in 2009, I had a client that got a 5.25% interest rate, and literally we were jumping up and down screaming, because
I remember
interest rates were, when I purchased, this investment property in particular, even years ago, the interest rate was 7%, so right now interest rates are sort of normalized, right? They're within the range of normalcy, pretty much, as opposed to where they were before. I know when my parents bought their house, when my mother bought her house, she paid, I think it was 18%, and that was in the 80s. So, to discuss interest rates right now, they aren't too bad. Correct, Jeremy?
Yeah, everything you said is correct, and that's what people have to realize in the marketplace. This is the new norm. Banks have to make money. People have to make money, and you can still make money on it, but people are going to affect it the most will be sellers, because if you look at the difference on a purchase price, if you have a number of miles your monthly payment's going to be, that seller has to become more reasonable. I just saw a property was around $420, and that same property with the financing rates is about $390, $395 if they want to be within about $200 range per month. So I think that sellers are, it seems to be the sellers are understanding more what's going on, but I still think we haven't seen the change. You're finally seeing job layoffs. You're seeing every day on the news, Google, large organizations and some sad stories of people getting let go, where you never heard of that 6 months ago, 3 months ago, whatever it was. That's going to play a factor in people's money now. I had a person this week just talking about they were shocked that they were let go from their company, never thought it was going to happen, but they're doing it, right? So I think that's definitely play a factor in what's going on too in the marketplace.
Absolutely.
Can I chime in just real quick?
Real quick, because Chris is going to get me, because he asked me to do this like 5 minutes ago. This is Real Talk with the Real Estate Diva. This is Desiree Real Estate Diva McDuffie, and I am here with Mr. Jeremy Bowers, owner of KW Philly and Mainline, and also with Ms. Paulette Ahmad, Philly Permit Expediters, and the Permit Plug. So we're discussing real estate investments, Airbnbs, long-term versus short-term, as well as the market shifting. So, Ms. Paulette, you were about to make a comment.
Oh, I just wanted to say, to piggyback off of what Jeremy said, moving into that owner financing, that is 100% the case. Owner financing, at this point, the owner will either finance 100% or they will finance only what you could not get approved for. So if you're selling a property for $200,000 and you were only approved for $150,000, there are some owners that will seller finance the difference. But one of the most biggest things that I'm seeing that's kind of maybe a little bit further than that is collaboration. People are partnering up and buying these properties. They're partnering up and buying so many properties, and then at a certain point, per project, at a certain point, they refinance out, pay each other, or they're going to buy and hold, whatever that looks like for them. And they are collaborating until they're both or each one is strong enough to do deals on their own. But collaboration is a really, really big way to scale your business in any market with anything today. So I wanted to just put that in there.
Absolutely. So is there anything else, Jeremy, that you would like to offer or share with our listeners regarding real estate investments and especially your business as a real estate coach?
Yeah, so if you're looking in the real estate business and decide if I should be a realtor or get in the real estate business, I'd love to talk to you. 2, if you're looking to get into real estate investing and you need help with raising capital, finding deals, or finding a good contractor, I can be a resource. And lastly, if you want to be involved with real estate coaching, we have a coaching service where you can hire us monthly for special projects or partnerships. And if you're having trouble finding data, we have a company called We Clean Lists, and we'll get you the data that you need. So if any of those 4 things are important to you and you're looking for some more, you can just Google me on YouTube at Jeremy Bowers, Bowers, or The $1 Billion Office, and be more than happy to talk to you. And I really appreciate you having me on today, guys.
Oh, you're very welcome, Jeremy. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing all of the wealth of information that you have. Like I said, if it were not for you, I wouldn't be doing this right here, right now. I would say you and Pastor Herndon, my pastor, have pushed me out, completely pushed me out of my comfort zone, and as well as other people in my circle who continue to push and see things in me that I don't see in myself. So I just want to say thank you. And Ms. Paulette, would you like to share some information about how people can reach you?
You guys can reach us, phillypermitexpediters.com, or you guys can reach us, through the Permit Plug on YouTube. We also have a Behind the Permits stories and crazy situations that go on in the process here in the city of Philadelphia, brotherly love. So definitely check us out at thepermitplug.com on YouTube. And if you guys are looking to do anything with construction, whether you're not sure what permits you need for your project or you need understanding on anything from rentals to Airbnbs, If you're buying the zoning, if you want to make sure your property is zoned correctly before you purchase it, if you want an ideal of if the building that you may want to rent is, let's just say you want to turn it into a juice bar or an event space or a CBD store, we will be essentially your first stop that you want to go to. And it'll help your realtor out as well to let them know that, listen, I did my research. Here's the type of business I want to open up. I have this multifamily, and I talked to the permit plug, and she told me these are the zoning codes that I need to be looking at. This is what I need to be, because a lot of agents aren't familiar with these processes, and I still believe that they should become more and more familiar with it because it's inevitable now.
Absolutely.
So because of that, I think that if the realtor side needs to understand it, I think the buyer side needs, and then it makes them both kind of come together. So that's a specialization, I think, that realtors definitely need to put under their belt in order to be able to navigate what's going on right now. But we are definitely your one-stop shop. If we cannot do it, then we will refer you out, okay? And we do everything from make safes, unsafes to stop work violations. You no longer have to be afraid. You contact us, Philly Permit Expediters, the permit plug, and we'll get it done for you.
Absolutely. And I have personally been able to experience Ms. Paulette's expertise as well. She's been a great resource to myself and my clients. So with that being said, this is Real Talk with the Real Estate Diva, and this is Desiree Real Estate Diva McDuffie. We are finalizing our show on Airbnbs and investment properties, and I look forward to speaking with you guys. Oh, whoa, wait. I'm supposed to get my information, right? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, y'all. So I can be reached at phillyrealestatediva.com. That is my website. Or you can follow me on Instagram at Philly Real Estate Diva. Twitter, same thing, Philly Real Estate Diva. Or you can give me a call at my office, and that number is 267-238-2877. Do not text that number. Please leave a message, and I will get back to you. Until next week, be blessed, guys.